Hey guys, what's up? This is Arth, and today we have all 4 bosses in rank 6. Now, I'm showing these all together. I thought I was going to break them up, but I'm showing these all together because they all share something in common, and I beat them in a very similar manner, and it has to do with kiting. Now, you'll notice here my pet is in his ferocity spec, and I've got Heart of the Phoenix up and ready to go. That's going to be an incredibly important ability for what I do. So this is the first boss, Yikin Aizu. Very quickly, a lot of people ask me about the birds. There's raven ads, and all I did to deal with them was I killed the first 4. You can't kill more than 4 at any one time, because if the boss gets 5 stacks of the buff that each death gives him, if he gets 5 stacks, he enrages. So I killed 4 at the beginning, and then I just kited the rest of the time and ignored the rest of the ravens. If some of them died to my glaive tosses or traps, fine, but I didn't worry about it at all after the first 4, after burning down the first 4. So what you saw me do there is I started the fight, I misdirected to my pet, and I turned Growl on. And now Growl doesn't work like a taunt on these bosses, but it does give some threat as far as I know. So my pet tanks him for maybe anywhere between 5 and 15 seconds, and I get some DPS without having to run around and kite, which is cool. And my pet dies, of course, but then I res him using Heart of the Phoenix, and I'm top aggro, and then I keep top aggro for the rest of the time. So my pet's alive. I got some uncomplicated DPS at the very beginning. Same thing's gonna happen here. So it's just let him tank for a little bit, let him die, res him, and then kite during the second half of the fight. Now this is a Kama, and he does a couple other abilities that you need to be aware of. It's not just a straight kite. There's these wolf ads that he summons. I just ignored the wolves. You can, if you're taking too much damage, you can kill them. I didn't. I just ignored them, and I was okay. Akama casts 2 abilities. There's one he puts, it's called Shadow Strikes, I think, and you have to dispel it, so you can trank shot it. And he does a lot less damage then. And he also casts Chain Lightning, and you'll see right there, he cast Chain Lightning, and I interrupted it with Silencing Shot. So if you don't do those 2 things, you will die. Chain Lightning will take you down, and probably the Shadow Strikes. So while you're kiting, you have to be doing those 2 things. But really, that's the whole fight, is just let your pet tank him at the beginning, res him, and then kite for the rest of the time. But do remember to interrupt and purge the damage buff that he has. The next 2 fights look a little bit different, but the strategy is exactly the same. This guy has 2 goblins on his shoulders. This is the easiest of the bunch. This is the easiest boss in rank 6 by a lot. He's got 2 goblins on each shoulder, and when you kill the goblins, when you kill both of them, you get 100% damage buff. And at that point, you're just kiting the boss around. Now, you'll see there he does a shield wall, and that's for in front of him. So when he puts up the shield wall, you have to be behind him to DPS him. That's the only one he'll take damage, like right now he's doing it. So you want to stay behind him as often as possible, but really just save your kiting abilities, disengage traps, things like that, for when he's running around here in between the shield walls. So you see I do a jump disengage there to get away from him, and by the time he catches up to me again, it's time to do another shield wall. So run around to the back, do a little bit more DPS. That's all this fight is. And he'll go down pretty quick because you have the damage buff from killing the goblins. Now I don't put any traps down here, and that's pretty much my fault. But I did make it through the fight. So again, your kiting abilities that you have available to you, mostly traps. You have disengage. If someone gets near you, you might want a deterrence. You have concussive shot, which I actually didn't make use of. So again, I wasn't doing the greatest job with kiting. If you're a PvPer, and you do a lot of this, and you do a lot of kiting like this, you'll probably be a lot better at this than I am, actually. I pretty much solely PvE, and you don't have a whole lot of opportunity to do intense kiting. So what I was able to do got me through these fights, but there's certainly more efficient ways to kite and other abilities that you can utilize. Now, I did think about concussive shot for this fight. I think I cast it once on this last boss, but again, didn't make as much use of it as I might have been able to. This last boss is called Ungalox. It's a big-ass giraffe, and it hits like a truck, and that's even compared to other bosses. So you'll see here my pet's dead in about 5 seconds. So you don't want to have Ungalox near you. You don't want your pet on it. Nothing. So the strategy of let my pet tank him for a little bit, maybe 15-20 seconds, didn't work as well as on the other bosses. So again, just throwing traps down, running around, blowing my cooldowns, burning him. So if your DPS is a little bit lower, your kiting skills are going to need to be better. If your DPS is higher, your kiting can be a little bit more lax. So you just got to find the right balance there. Nothing really changed in any of these fights. Just the first fight, I burned down the first four ravens and then kited. And on a comma, you got the purge and the interrupt. Otherwise, all 4 bosses were just kite fests. So it's cool, I finally got to use some kiting abilities, and we didn't see that a lot in my earlier videos, but it's certainly a skill that's good to have for a lot of these bosses. And you might have to use them on earlier bosses too, depending on what your DPS is like and what your talents are like. So that's it for rank 6. I am going to break up rank 7 because the fights get intense in rank 7. Each one presents a new challenge. So I'll be back soon with the GG engineering fight, which is the first in rank 7, and stay tuned.